Long Mountain belongs to the mountain ranges north of Gangtok, the abode of yogis amidst the depths of mountains in Tibet, where all are absorbed in deep meditation, spiritual uplifting, and in thoughts concerning the origin of the universe. Monks here are all immersed in thoughts pertaining to the secrets of the cosmos and the universe. They have such an enigmatic aura that can be rarely seen or felt within individuals living in society. The average of monks there is 120 years of biological age. Some live for more than 200 years. They can identify and completely submit themselves with reverence to absolute knowledge. Thakur was invited there at a very tender age to share his insight and wisdom. Though he was not learned about their cultures and traditions back then, the monks realized that Thakur was unlike any other ordinary child. They understood that their questions will be confined to the boundaries of their own wisdom. Though they were highly elevated souls, and they realized that they cannot ask something beyond their perception. However, receiving answers to those questions does not necessarily equate to receiving answers to all possible questions that might as well be existing outside the realms of human understanding. They believed the fact that Thakur as a child had an acumen and wisdom far beyond their perception. They decided to allow Thakur to take the responsibility of formulating the questions too, on sensing that Thakur's acumen and wisdom were far beyond their perception. Thakur knew what the sages must understand and what kind of wisdom could guide them to the correct path. One of the sages affirmed, "So, my dear child, you may be younger than us according to biological age, but those ascetic tender eyes of yours reflect profound wisdom. They appear to be our window to unbounded knowledge. Hence, we request you to form the questions as well." Thakur began his very sacred explanations at their earnest request. The mighty will force that created this entire universe belongs to the Creator, who only seeks that we, as His child, all think of Him, respect Him, love Him from the bottom of our hearts. The Creator is making us all aware of this fact through the love and affection we endow towards our parents, siblings, partners, etc. The more one tries to search for the existence of the ultimate power, the further it seems to fade away. We cannot be certain about or pinpoint who is observing, who is listening, who is consuming, who is feeling, and who is understanding, and so on. We can ask, where is the evidence to the fact that our thought can take a form and a shape can be created through the practice of meditation? This living, breathing universe holds the very testimony to the fact. But this form did not exist forever before. There used to be a different form before. Think about it. This universe is full of such diverse forms. Where did they all come from? Who made them? Through what process were they created? If we say God created them, then the immediate question that follows is that who created God? Scientists talk about matter and energy. But how did even matter and energy come into existence? Someone or the other is responsible to maintain a powerhouse.
We all decorate our house using various furniture items and place them to our own liking. But who is responsible for this bedecked earth? Who adorned the beautiful landscape of our Mother Earth with rivers, mountains, oceans, etc.? It will take significant manpower to cut out a canal, yet who carved out such vast oceans? We are probably getting so much with such ease, which is why it might be difficult for us to pay attention. But ever did we stop to wonder who made such wonderful landscapes? How did the Creator manage to create such wonderful landscapes? We didn't ever think that a little bit of deep introspection would reveal that someone somewhere is responsible for making such magnificent forms using his mind. The earth used to be very different from what it is now. It used to have a different mixture of diversity, species, ecosystems, landscapes, and so on 10,000 years from now, which again was different from what it used to be 20 years ago. But if it is created by a single individual or mind, we would be expecting a repetitive one, much like the resemblance we are likely to find in different paintings done by the same painter. Anything at all. How is the Creator creating so many distinct things? It seems that we could easily get lost in these questions without seeming to find proper answers. And yet, the answers must exist. If we think lucidly, the Creator must have a reason behind creating the universe. It is important to understand this universe is mostly empty. But if we can comprehend and classify something as empty, then it starts to take up meaning. It starts to have something. Whenever you are classifying meaning as empty or being composed of nothing, you must be doing so in comparison to something else. Then that nothing will nascent into becoming something. Had the earth or the universe not existed, then there would not be anyone to ask these questions. Since there are explanations to these questions, we need to realize that the things that cannot be answered exist as well. The nothing and the something in question has the same origin. Then, is this emptiness the answer to all questions? There are so many planets, asteroids, stars residing in this empty space that are intertwined and entangled with each other, and within these objects there are so many distinct entities. Why do they exist in the first place? If we consider that God created them, then the immediate question that follows is, who and for what purpose was God created? Did the concept of God gain momentum on its own, or God has ancestry as well? The clouds you see floating in the sky, this earth we live in, other planets and celestial bodies, they all are residing in the vacuum of space. They all took shelter in such a medium which has no identity on its own. Everything that exists is residing in a medium with no definition of identity. Emptiness is such a concept that has no definition, and yet all the celestial bodies launch in it. Not only that, they all happily inhabit this void, and it can be concluded that they are all happily settled and contented residents in this emptiness. We see many cars on the road, and they are involved in so many accidents. Whereas there are billions of dynamic celestial entities constantly moving around in this massive empty space. They are not involved in regular collision among themselves. They are following a set of rules and running in a synchronized manner in their own orbit as observed inside a machine. Did we ever wonder who created such a beautiful set of rules? The hint of obscureness, the indication of emptiness, is dispersed within everything that we carry out every day in our lives. We eat in the afternoon to satiate our hunger, and yet we become hungry by the evening. We seem unable to satiate our hunger for a long time. Even after gorging a gluttonous meal, we may feel that we have not consumed our last meal, and we feel hungry after some time. Similarly, you may feel you can drink up the entire ocean to quench your thirst, and yet we seem to be satiated after drinking one glass of water. It appears to be that we are getting a constant indication. What is this indication trying to convey to us? It is trying to say, no matter how much you eat, no matter how much you try to fill up space, you can never fill it up completely. Why? Because we aren't residing inside a filled medium. We are inside an empty medium. We are striving towards filling it up. We are progressing in trying to do so, and we are trying to fill it up with all our efforts, and in doing so, the seeds of our thinking and decision-making abilities fill up. We must remember whatever we are doing or whatever is happening to us may appear to tend towards completion, but it can never be deemed fully complete. This strange phenomena is because we are residing inside in unusual space. Our spherical Earth appears to be inside this massive empty space. Not only our Earth, but there are also millions of Earth-like planets that are constantly moving around inside this massive void. How did so much matter come into existence inside such a massive void? Here, we need to pay to buy a little bit of soil. Yet, where did this giant ball of earth come from in this massive emptiness? Do we get butter from milk without needing to process it? We need to skim the butter out of the liquid milk. Similarly, the earth existed in tiny fragmented particles from amid this massive void. Each of these tiny particles has its own willpower. The way you decide whether to carry a flower on your left or right hand, each of these particles has much similar decision-making ability. There is no one on this planet who can say that they don't have anyone in their life. Everyone has one or two friends. Everyone longs for someone else's company. Much like two people longing for each other's company, these particles too wanted to combine, and they begin to combine with each other. There are a few particles that cannot be seen with our naked eyes, not even with the help of any device. It feels as if the entire void resembles the characteristics of one such small, tiny particle. This way, the particles combine with one another, and so does their willpower. Once they come together, they might think, what next? Then they decide to transcend and progress into something better. When 5 people come together, they can form a communion. Likewise, The coalition of all these tiny particles helps in forming something greater. Again, on the other end of the spectrum, it might also happen that one massive object may transform into such small and tiny particles. This Earth can be thought to be one such tiny particle in comparison to this massive empty space. The Earth took form because of a churning effect generating a colossal force called Big Bang. That nothing can become greater than the force itself. If we continue our journey on this path for millions of years, we will realize that we are exactly where we started from. What did these tiny particles think of doing once they coalesced? The thought of transforming for a better cause. Their willpower started taking shape amid the massive void. The union of particles took multiple forms. The communion of the will force of all these particles took their own unique forms. The will of these amalgamated objects started to flow in their own distinctive courses. It is as if the combination of multiple will forces took its own unique identity as one unique will. Then, the will of these bigger particles eventually combined to take another unique form. This way, the process continued in the process of satisfying their individual needs. The world we see around us today is a result of the events that ensued. There might be a time in the future that due to the environmental needs, human faces or ears might become elongated. But with honest concentration and meditation, one can channel their thoughts to figure out their true shape or make. The world we see around us today is a result of our perennial flow of thoughts. The world we see around us is created by all our creative thoughts that emerged due to the various needs. Yet, the old definitive will force is alive and working in all individual entities. If one can be guided to channel their thoughts, it is possible for them to take control of their forms. They can decide to be born as a tiger or a horse in the next birth throughout proper channeling of thoughts. The tale of Mother Nature and all the living entities are indicating that if you use this inner willpower and if you align your thoughts properly, then it will not matter whether you are God or a common human being. You will be able to align yourself to the ancient consciousness from which all those tiny individual particles emerged out. That way, we will be able to procure answers to all questions. Our consciousness is striving to obtain answers to all questions to reach a conclusion, to become one with the ancient tune of the Absolute. If you feel a tingling sensation in a part of your body, you will continue to be in a continuous state of discomfort till you are able to alleviate the tingling sensation. Our mind is in such a similar state. It is in a state of constant discomfort as it is unable to find the necessary answers. If this universe took shape because of our consolidated thoughts and deep meditation, then we can say that the outcome of our work depends upon our own efforts. If we can trust our honest efforts, then we should be able to be in tune with the vintage tune of the Creator. We must realize that our own mind can obtain solutions to these questions. It can do so without the help of any other external devices. For example, if a hair lands up on your tongue will keep on trying to remove the hair till it is completely removed. Similarly, our mind too is in a state of being constantly conscious and feels the discomfort of not being able to find all the answers. We have the conscious element present within us. We are constantly seeking how to utilize it. We don't need to renounce our societal life for that. It is present in the simplest of things and actions. It can be achieved through the simple meditation, as we are a result of its own creations. If we can find and follow that path, obtaining or getting answers will be inevitable. Those who can attune themselves to this vintage tune can only be able to gain freedom from this state of constant mental discomfort. Those who deal with universal mathematics can figure out the cause and effect relationship between birth and death. Ordinary beings mourn the loss of a person in front of them. The death of a near and a dear one takes priority. Perhaps this is an illusion caused because of deeply caring for someone. While trying to figure out what is causing a bottleneck for an individual that prevents one from being born again and being aligned with the Absolute. We should be careful so that our actions do not cause any misunderstanding with our spiritual master, whose advice is aligned with the directives of the universal tune. These directives have been found to be in unison with the scientific facts and will gain more insight in the future. Do we necessarily work whether we are willing to do it, irrelevant of whether we are in a state of mind to do it or not? People seldom perform any activity on this planet with complete mental immersion. A kid can learn new languages with the help of a semi-developed mind. It does not matter if random thought plays out in our head at times, but one should focus on work and deeply introspect before performing any action.